Hold on.
I can read like this.
Let's see. And you get that little got it button on your screen. Once you do that,
Yep.
I will go ahead. I'm going to admit everyone, just Ruth, just so you know, I'm going to disable
Thank you.
that.
Yep, thank you.
Got it. And Ms. Secor, meeting is yours.
Okay, thank you. All right, welcome. It is Tuesday, June 21st, 2022 at 6:31 p.m. And this is the Scituate Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee. I'm going to first read the governor's declaration. Governor Baker declared a public health emergency, and the related emergency executive order dated March 12th, 2020 has been extended until July 14th, 2022. This meeting will be recorded by Scituate Community Television and can be viewed live, excuse me, on Scituate Community Television Facebook Live. The recorded meeting will be available the following day on Comcast Channel 9 and YouTube Scituate Community Television. I'm going to go ahead and read our commitment statement, and then I'll call the meeting to order. This is a safe, secure space for all people, especially people of color, and for all underrepresented people and communities. This is a space where people can bring up challenges and questions without fear. We will assume best intentions, and we will treat one another with politeness and respect at all times. This committee is dedicated to these standards. We want our members and others joining our meetings to feel welcomed and respected. Thank you. All right, so with that, I will call the meeting to order. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Angela. Okay, I'll call the roll. Ms. Yassine.
Yes.
Reverend Stewart.
Yes.
Ms. Galata.
Yes.
Ms. Risha.
Yes.
Ms. Dre.
Yes.
And I am a yes. Okay.
And we seem to be missing Mr. Six Tiger and Ms. Swope.
Okay. All right. So we do have a lot to get to tonight, so we'll try to keep this moving along. So I know, Ruth, you mentioned about the minutes. We're in a position to accept them tonight, though, right?
Right, yeah, no, the minutes as posted, if there's any discussion, I would also, so if any discussion with last month's minutes, please let us know now if I need to amend anything. And I would like to make a motion to amend the minutes of March 8th. It was brought to my notice that I misspelled Lorraine Devon's last name. So I would like to spell that correctly. I'm sorry, I didn't spell it right. I spell it all the time. So, so I would like to make a motion to accept these minutes as written, and then 3/8 minutes as amended.
Okay, any commentary on the May 23rd minutes? I don't have any. Okay, then I will call a motion to accept both the May 23rd as amended, and did you say March 8th as amended?
Yeah, May 23rd as is and March 8th as amended.
Okay. All right, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you, Celia. All right, I will call the roll to accept the minutes. Ms. Yassine.
Yes.
Reverend Stewart.
Yes.
Ms. Galata.
Yes.
Ms. Risha.
Yes.
Ms. Dre.
Yes.
And I am a yes. Okay. All right. So let's keep rolling. So for our liaison reports and community announcements, and frankly, I don't care what order we go in here. How about we start? Maura, do you want to kick us off? I'm just gonna go by the order here.
Go by the
My
Brady
screen.
Bunch view.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. No worries. Thank you. Thank you all. Hi, everyone. We did have a meeting last week, a select board meeting, mostly comprised of approving a lot of licenses and entertainment permits and whatnot, which is very common in the summertime. But we did at the start of the meeting honor 3 long-term service employees for 25 years. Brian Clark from the fire department, Paul Norton from the police department, and Mike Breen from the DPW. So very proud of them and their 25 years of service to the town and working on behalf of the taxpayers. So that was nice to recognize them. That's the good stuff that we get to do. And then really the largest portion of the meeting really focused around some discussion with the new water treatment plant and the plans and the way in which to articulate next steps for that. So this evening there is a quote unquote listening session, which really the engineers have set up and put out there to hear what concerns residents within the town have with regards to the treatment plant and its location. And then they will take those concerns and prepare themselves for a subsequent public meeting where there will be, open dialogue, questions and answers, so we can further educate folks on the need and on the options that exist or don't exist to put it in another location. So that was really it. It really, like I said, a lot of awarding of permits and licenses, and that's it. That's what's going on in town.
Okay, thank you, Maura. All right, so let's keep going. Jamil, you've been busy.
We've been busy. So on Thursday, I want to say we had, I think it was Thursday. We did a second. I imagine we can, Angeles, is it fair to say annual at this point? The second annual Pride open mic event. And it was a great event. People came out, the energy was good. The weather worked out for us. We were outside there at what's called now referred to as the Arts Plaza, which is the space between the outside space between the high school and the middle school. And a lot of people just worked together to make it happen. It was LitPag was one of the folks to help make it happen. The GSAs from the middle school and from the high school, members of the community, different number of staff and faculty donated their time to also make it happen as well. So it was just a really great community engaging event. So great time. I learned that myself along one other person were the only 2 people in attendance at the event that had not ever been to Ronnie Shones, I think it is. Ronnie Shones. But today I realized I've driven past this place a million times at this point, probably. But me and this community member have made a date to go to Ronnie Shones, and and we're gonna patronize that place. I think on the 28th, I think is the date that we set up. So that will happen. It was comedy to everybody else, but we were only. He made sure that I didn't feel alone in that space. But yeah, so there's people who shared poetry. There was some narrative sharing. There was, as has been the case, in a number of communal moments between students and their families. And so it was a great energy and event. Then on yesterday, so yesterday we did the Juneteenth event, the first, and hopefully this is an annual event at the Gates Dining Commons. And the turnout for the Pride event was great. And then when I say great, I'm going to say somewhere around 60 people, 50 to 60 people, something like that. And then the turnout for the Juneteenth event was great as well. So a couple of 100 folks came through. And we had student involvement from all levels. Someone representation from the high school, representation from the elementary level, And then we have representation actually from one of our staff members, the actual host of the event, Marcavius Barnes, our Medco coordinator, also performed along with his fraternity brothers, and then their sister organization performed as well, the sorority, and they did a step performance, which has a deep connection to just the lineage that was born out of Juneteenth. So it was just a powerful event. A number of emails and text messages and things like that just lent themselves towards folks having a great time, learning some things along the way, and just being in a good space. And we also had the first, as far as I know, the first official SPS Soul Train line took place as well. So it was great. It was a good time. So yeah, I think we were the only school, as far as I know, we may be one of a few, if not the only school district that did one as well. So, and did it on the actual national day.
How old were the kids, the piano player and the singer?
Okay, so yeah, so as far as the student performance goes, student voices that were heard, the representative from A and B, which is Alice Not Bondstanders, she is, I'm gonna guess, and I could be wrong. I think she was, she's 16, I think. Because I believe she is about to become a sophomore. The student who sang, she is a 7th grader.
Wow.
And then the student that played the piano is also a 7th grader, although he's really tall. He's a 7th grader as well. So those are the grades of the folks.
Impressive.
Mm-hmm.
They were great.
Yeah. And the student that did the student that wasn't able to be there, that did the PowerPoint presentation, that student is a 6th grader.
Jamil, it was an awesome event. At one point, I found myself getting emotional, just looking at the crowd and the high school student that spoke and everyone that participated. It was a wonderful event. Great job to you and everyone involved.
Thank you. You know how we do. Always we. Always
And Tom was great in that Soul Train line too. I had to follow him, and it wasn't easy.
I'm just hoping there's no video of that. So yeah, that was something. That was something. Yeah, it was fun. It was fun. Great job. Any questions for Jamil? Okay. Let's keep going. Ruth, Jean, do you want to give an update on Stride? Since you don't have to, but
I don't have anything new at this time. I know Stride usually amplifies events that are ongoing. So again, just a reminder that if there are events that you have, to send information to scituatestride.org, because we will put them both on Facebook as well as on our webpage. So for instance, Jamil, I did not know anything about the Juneteenth, and I understand that sometimes things are specifically for the school audience and the school environment. But if you do wish to have these amplified in the community, Stride's a great way to do it.
okay. All right. So we do have. So I mean, if we're done with community announcements, liaison reports.
Can I make one?
Yes.
Yes,
Sorry.
actually, you know what? I was about Scituate Pride. You gonna talk about the parade?
Yeah.
Okay, because I was texting with Chris Longman today,
Yes.
who I know.
So, yeah, so I have sort of inadvertently ended up as leading the parade. So please come and be supportive, because I've never led a parade before.
I've heard.
So we're St. Luke's, how it happened is St. Luke's is hosting a breakfast before the parade. All the times were set before I inherited this on Friday. So Breakfast is at 8 a.m. at St. Luke's, would not have been my choice. And we're going to make signs, and hopefully we'll have a speaker. Carrie Borkowski is supposed to speak for us, and then some of the clergy are going to offer glitter blessings if you would like a glitter blessing before we parade. And then we'll step off about 9 o'clock from the church, and we'll march to the common like we did the last couple years. And we're gonna put together a rainbow. We're gonna have some chalk to write messages. There'll be music, and we're gonna invite people from the community to share their stories as they feel comfortable doing so, particularly stories that are stories of hope and inclusion, and their hopefully positive experiences in Scituate. But whatever stories people feel moved to share, we will listen to. So that's sort of the general plan for it. Breakfast will be quiche and fruit salad and mini muffins and lots of caffeine because it's 8 a.m. So that's the plan. And I reached out to some people in the community, and they've just kind of started planning all kinds of stuff and doing great things. I'm really grateful for everyone who's been stepping up and helping. But it should be a good event. And if anyone wants to officially speak, let me know. I am happy to have official speakers lined up. So that's where we're at.
Yeah, Reverend Longman reached out to me today because there's also there's a fundraiser basketball tournament also Saturday morning at the outdoor courts across from St. Luke's. So there's going to be 50 teams.
At the high school?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. And I'm kind of involved in that. Trying to get out of that, but I'm kind of involved in that. So there's going to be several hundred people down in that area anyways. So she was like, can we cross promote? I don't know. But maybe I'll shoot you a note.
Okay, yeah. And the more the merrier. I think anyone can march. I mean,
Yeah,
even
of
if they
course.
don't want to come to breakfast, or they can come to breakfast and not march, however the timing of tennis works out.
How is it being promoted?
Yeah, so
Or is
that so again, this was dropped on me on Friday, so just
Yeah.
So
Understood.
I know it's on the Pride website, and somebody put together a PDF flyer today, so we're trying to start to promote that out on different Facebook pages. It's going to be in Peach Jar, but it won't be emailed in Peach Jar because we were too late for that.
Yeah.
So that's to the school families. So yeah, we're just kind of looking for places like that. I know not all the church communities. The church community are supportive of LGBTQ+. We'll have it advertised this week in their various newsletters and Facebook pages and things like that.
Do we know if the student community is aware? They're
I don't
pretty dialed
know.
in.
Yeah, they're pretty dialed in, and I was hopeful. I was hearing what Jamil said about people coming to the other Pride events this month, and so I would assume that would mean that they would be aware of the parade. I mean, it is the third time we've had it, so it's not like a first year brand new thing. So I would hope that they would be.
From what I understand, people are aware.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Any extra promotion you want to give it, Jamil, happy to have.
Okay.
So the official parade starts at 9, breakfast at 8, march at 9. Okay, great. Yeah, reach out to me if you need any extra help. If you want to send me the PDF of the flyer or anything else, I'm happy to cross promote. I in no way need to be a speaker, but if you need someone to stand up and talk for a couple minutes, I can always pull a few things out of somewhere. So I'm happy to be a backup.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, excellent. Anything else at this point? Okay. So, like I said, I had told this is usually our time for public comment. When Connor joins, we'll get to what he is working on with the Beach Commission, which is pretty exciting. It's something that we talked about at one point, and I caught up with him, I think last week, and he sent me the stuff, and we're going to talk about that. So for now, how about we talk about,
You might, Mr. Secor, you might ask if there is any other public comment. There, we do have other people here.
yeah, is there any other public comment right now? No. Okay. So let's talk about Indigenous Peoples Day and all the work that we have going on there. I know Ruth sent out our working draft. Do you want me to pull that up, Ruth? Okay, bear with me a minute. I should have had this at the ready, but it'll just take me a minute.
And again, I'm hoping that everybody did get a copy of that draft. I have to thank, again, a committee of people, including students, advisors from Gates and the high school, Stride members, Bob, and then Angela and Tom, who also were part of this committee to pull this together. This is a combination of information from multiple warrants throughout, town meeting warrants. That's what our eventual goal is to make a town meeting warrant. So this is information from multiple warrants, plus then tweaked to kind of say what we wanted to say and to focus how we wanted to focus the discussion, rather than beginning with the Christopher Columbus himself. It was more beginning with the Native American and Indigenous peoples, and what we want to then do. The beginning part is the whereas part, which kind of sets out the information. I think you can make that actually a little smaller, Tom.
I can do that.
Because usually it's the other way around, is that I can't see it all. And it's like, now we can, yeah, there we go.
And
So
students, Ruth, I just want to.
I started with students, Tom.
Oh, you did? I'm sorry.
I
I'm
did.
sorry.
That's okay. You're busy pulling things together. I know, but once I'm doing 3 other things, it's hard to.
The students were awesome.
Definitely.
They were
Yes,
awesome.
no, the students are very supportive. So setting up, kind of the whereases, which paint the picture, because I think many people haven't really thought much about Christopher Columbus ever since they were young people learning kind of sketchy information that really didn't go into any details whatsoever. And I think that now that we're all more in tune with what history tells us, we have to really evaluate, is this what we want our country, our town celebrating? So we begin with an acknowledgement of the background of Indigenous peoples who were here, then going into what Christopher Columbus's voyages were. And they were not voyages of just discovery. They actually were voyages meant to gather as much as possible for the European backers. And so that meant enslavement, trafficking of peoples, extermination of indigenous populations, if they were not in line with what the new rulers asked them to do. So this is one of the reasons why it is set for Columbus Day specifically, is to not only honor the Indigenous people, but also to not honor somebody that we don't feel happy honoring. So then we go on and go to a background of what Indigenous Peoples Day is and how it was established. You can kind of go on down, Tom. You can scroll down a bit. This is not a new thing. This is not something that just popped up out of somebody's head. This has been something that is ongoing and continuing to gain momentum. We said many states and municipalities, because by the time we post it, it could have more. And this is something that many people are saying, wait a minute, we need to change the way we look at things, including our school committee, who did vote to recognize the second Monday in October as Indigenous Peoples Day on their school calendar in 2021. So what we are asking, any questions, comments, concerns about what we set out here?
No, I love the outreach to the students. I didn't hear that prior. to this.
Absolutely.
Sounds like you cast a very nice broad net.
Well, what we're also doing is thinking, how do we, the first step is this committee's approval. Once this committee approves, it can go to the select board. Once the select board approves, then it can go to hopefully town meeting. And so we know that we need allies and other people to sign on as we go through on this. So we have to start with that. So it really is a community effort. So the be it resolved part is what we're actually asking. Again, it is the second Monday in October, known and celebrated as Indigenous Peoples Day rather than Columbus Day. Note that this does not erase a federal holiday, which currently is Columbus Day on that day. And that takes care of Bob's issues with federal holidays, that it still is a federal holiday, but we will celebrate it in this town as Indigenous Peoples Day. And again, why? To ensure that the culture, history, and diversity of Indigenous peoples is celebrated and perpetuated. Encouraging towns and schools to use this, okay, to reflect, celebrate. And then number 3, encouraging business and organizations to recognize and celebrate. Number 4 has asterisks, because that was something we discussed a great deal, and we're bringing it to you as the committee to kind of go over. So we're asking, one is establishment of Indigenous Peoples Day and encouraging people to go with it. 4 is actually asking for a land acknowledgement statement. I felt that it went really well with the concept of Indigenous Peoples Day. The ask is to have this statement posted, poster somewhere in town hall, printed in the town handbook, and announced before each town meeting. Land acknowledgements are ways that, again, show that we acknowledge that Indigenous people do count and are part of our larger community. So asking that we say the town of Scituate sits on the traditional and ancestral land of the Massachusetts and Wampanoag peoples. We commit to continuing to learn how to become better caretakers of the land we inhabit, understanding the history and traditions of Indigenous peoples of the region, and learning from the successes and failures of preceding generations in the pursuit of a more just and equitable Scituate. Some people thought, why are we adding something in that could cause contention? And other people said, well, why not? Because if we're going to go with this, this is, a land acknowledgement is going to be less contentious actually than the whole Columbus Day issue. We do also have Nicole Brandolini, school committee member, as one of our allies, who is also part of Italian Americans for Indigenous Peoples Day. And again, the point of Italian Americans for Indigenous Peoples Day is to say, as an Italian American, I don't want to be known as somebody supporting an Italian who did all these things. I found that there's better ways to be known as an Italian American. So anyway, 4 is something to see if you want to keep or not. And then 5 just says, shall continue to oppose bias and discrimination and shall promote equity and justice for all people. Just to kind of wrap it up. So this is kind of where we throw this open to discussion on, do you wish to accept this, amend it, suggest something else?
Ruth, this is great. I would adopt this as is. I know, as you said, maybe number 4 might be a little contentious, but it's always worth a discussion. Otherwise, people are never going to learn and we won't get anywhere. So even if it is something that's discussed, I think the discussion is worth having. So I would keep it as is.
I also really love this the way it is and would keep it as is with maybe just a little thought, because I feel like number 4 is sort of a continuing education piece. so that it's always brought in front of people, which I think is really important. But I wonder if everybody knows that the Massachusetts was a Native American tribe, because they might not know that. So I was not exactly sure what the right phrase to put ahead of it was, but just to make that clear, because you could read it like the ancestral lands of the Massachusetts. I mean, we're all Massachusetts people, right? So, but I know you mean
it's actually, and I was corrected on this, Massachusetts. And that's not a typo.
Oh, okay.
So that actually is Massachusetts.
Yeah.
And I did not know that, and I typed it wrong, and I was corrected on that. So,
Yeah. Well, right. So, I mean, I think that's sort of just enforces my point, though, is that people might just think it's a typo and not understand
Massachusetts
that it was
and
actually
Wampanoag peoples.
Yeah, it caught me, and I Googled it. I'll be honest with you, and I was just like, okay, I probably should have known that, but I didn't. So,
I have a question. Did we have any opportunity to get input from any Indigenous folks in town?
We have looked for Indigenous folks in town and did not know any. The people in our committee did not know of any. We have talked to Matwin Monroe through Stride, and we'll, you know, if this continues, we will definitely get back to her. Do you have anybody you can recommend more of? Because I do not have anybody that I know of.
I don't, but I can find out. I mean, I don't,
Yeah.
they may not necessarily be from town, but I know, you know, the Wampanoag peoples typically have pretty strong representation, so.
Yep, no, we will definitely go to that. We had been to them before when we started discussion on land acknowledgements, and
okay,
we tried earlier. And so this would be run by them also.
Okay. Good. Do you want me to try to find anybody, or are you?
If you can't find anybody, that would, yeah, besides Matwin Monroe of UAINE, because that's my one contact that I know we've got.
Okay, can you afterwards send me that name in an email, just so I don't incorrectly spell it?
and I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Ruth, and I think Jean dropped off, but
yeah, she had to go.
I'm going to butcher her first name, but Ms. Monroe, has been actively involved in at least a half a dozen communities that have gone through this exact process.
Right, and that's why I'm using a lot of the words, because I know that they have also been vetted, and they note that in their, you know, in a discussion that this was reviewed by, and there's a couple of organizations that they mention.
Yep.
Ruth, to your question number 2, I think references would be very helpful, because I think that this is probably a learning experience for lots of individuals, even folks that may support it. And then I think there might be a lot of questions. So I think having references available and additional talking points would be really helpful.
We can do that, but I don't think we can have all that on the warrant.
Sure, yeah.
So, but yes, I think that's a very good idea to have, you know, these people actually had references on the warrant.
Oh, interesting.
Things as piece of the warrant. We are going to have talking points. Other discussions are to have an open forum, to have people come and have discussions about this. I mean, but just for the warrant itself, and sorry, because I've got you guys up in different places, so I keep turning on one side or another to, you're actually in front of me, but I have to see you, I have to go somewhere else. So that's one of the discussions, is to have, you know, a real meeting, whether it be virtual or hybrid or whatever, once we do go forward with that. But like, do you think there should be references on the warrant? Some people will only see this when they see the warrant. We have to acknowledge.
I think it would be helpful, even if it was just possible to do some annotations, just like a research page, because I think that for some people, they will not be able to absorb this as fact. So I think having some of those references, so they could perhaps Google on their own, or perhaps even look up the reference, and then, you know, as we get closer, I wonder too if we could do a informational presentation at the library, or there might be a series of events that folks could self-select into to learn more.
Exactly.
So I would just remind everyone that anything that goes in front of annual town meeting, the advisory booklet is an opportunity where a lot of those references can be published, as well as additional comment. I'm not 100% sure if they should be on the warrant or not. So I'm just gonna double check that.
Okay,
I like this because it's nice and clean. And I think you have opportunity for references from an educational aspect with handouts or all the public sessions that you're having and also the advisory booklet.
yeah, okay, advisory booklet sounds great.
But I'll double check too.
Excellent.
That's the separate handout, Maura,
Yes.
at
yeah.
town meeting? Okay,
Mhm, mhm.
all right.
What's the booklet, right? You get a book when you come in of all the different stuff.
Correct. And it's usually available online. It has to be available prior to the meeting so people can educate themselves prior to walking in. So it's always available online as well as in print copy prior to the meeting.
Okay. Any other commentary on the warrant? Okay.
I just had the comment, I know I brought it up in our subcommittee meeting, but Mark, do you think 4 needs to be in the warrant?
That was a question, yes.
Because
Do you
that's,
mean in the article? So this is your article language, right?
Yep.
I don't know. I mean, I
That was
would
a
keep
question.
it now and have it up for discussion in front of the select board before the final edit.
Because more it brought up is that, truthfully, the select board could just adopt a land acknowledgement, but then the select board, a subsequent select board could just unadopt a land acknowledgement. Whereas if it gets voted at town meeting, it's voted at town meeting and it's a stronger push for
It's
it.
in there.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. I'd leave it in for now if that's where the committee is leaning.
I mean, I really like 4. I don't know if that is going to be an additional point of contention that might make it harder to pass this resolution as a whole. You know, I wonder if you just talking out loud, if you take 4 out and then have the town vote on the rest and have the select vote, select board enable 4. Maybe that's a way to accomplish both, but I'm not sure what the pushback might be because I would highly support it in its entirety.
can we vote for what we would like and then have the select board vote for what they would like? Is that, I mean, because now we're kind of second guessing them on what they think. And, that this would be something definitely more you'd want to discuss with them is how do we make this the strongest we can? We want it to go. And if they wish at that point in time to take out 4, obviously, or anything else they want to, they can then decide
Yeah,
to do.
Ruth, I just learned a long time ago, don't negotiate against yourself.
Yeah.
So go all in and
Yeah.
have the discussion. And if it's
Exactly.
uncomfortable, that's all
I
right.
agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I think Jamil had a comment.
Yeah.
Yeah, all I was gonna say is that the acknowledgement is the goal to get that to happen, right? So I think, you get I don't know the vote and things like that, but
Yeah,
the energy
sorry.
would be to have that happen. Other things can always be actuated in different ways. So I just wanted to put that to the thought process.
I agree that we want it, but the goal for this the main goal is Indigenous Peoples Day. So just like we have other, things on our project plans with the CEO and other things. So I just think if we're focusing on getting Indigenous Peoples Day, making it less complicated and less controversial, to what, Kate's point, I understand putting it all in there, but if we could speed up the process and put it in, in a way that the select board doesn't have to make the decision, and then they just agree on the Indigenous People Day, and then we finalize all the references and everything we need to get that passed. Do we add the land acknowledgement on our other, project plan on the town seal, which, so there's other things that we have that we want to present to the board. I mean, that's just my opinion. I would,
Can they be two separate articles?
well, it doesn't need to be an article if it's just, well, the, what would be the separate article? Just the land.
The land acknowledgement.
It would be a separate, it's not an article though, because it
I'm
doesn't.
probably getting the wording wrong, but
Yeah.
No, but I think to your point, Angela and Tom, if you want to pull it out, I don't know that it has to go in front of town meeting. Just like our diversity statement, the board supported and initiated. That didn't have to go before town meeting. So, maybe we leave it and let that discussion, as you all had just, alluded to when you come before the board to review everything. And we can decide then. It's easy to edit and take things out and have a nice discussion about it. 'Cause it might not be necessary to even have to go in front of annual town meeting.
Well, there's necessary, but there's also what makes it stronger. For instance, if everybody is supportive and feels that it's not a problem, I'd love to see it go.
Mm. But if it risks, so you have to ask yourself, if
Right.
it does risk Indigenous Peoples' Day from being passed,
Right,
are you willing to take that risk? And
right.
Maura, I have a process question about town meeting, and I only know this because I was reading something about Cohasset's town meeting. So at ours, are we able, like, let's say we're talking about Indigenous Peoples' Day and we keep in the land acknowledgement and it's voted down, can we then vote on just a part amending? Can we amend it live and then
Yeah.
vote on just one and not the other? Does that make
that's
sense?
up, yeah, that's up to the moderator. And
Okay.
you'd have to call it back. It's a whole process that you would want to cover with the moderator. And that's almost at his discretion, right? Whether or not he's going to allow it, because it may be too complicated and too confusing, but to us, it's pretty straightforward. So if it were presented in a way that you felt on town meeting floor that this was going to fail because of number 4, one of you could stand up and make a motion to amend, to remove, item 4 and pass everything else, and proclaim, the second day in October, Indigenous Peoples' Day. So you have options. It just gets complicated.
Got it. Thank you.
Ruth, do we feel that we're in, help me
Well,
out here.
that's a question, is that, does somebody want to make a motion to accept this and vote on it? Maura, can we vote on this? Because even though we didn't say vote,
Yeah, don't you have other business on your agenda?
it's,
Yeah.
yeah, okay, because I was told to say discuss and vote. But as long as we can vote, even though we weren't declaring a vote. Because we can vote this, or somebody can make an amendment and vote that. I mean, so does anybody want to vote for an amended version?
Taking it out.
Yeah, or doing whatever other amendment they wish to amend at this point in time. Put something up there that you want. Because if not, I'm going to recommend we vote for this version. And then it continues on.
But we would still have the opportunity to amend once we speak to the select board.
Of course. Oh, absolutely. We can
can-
amend it next month if we
Yeah,
wanted to.
you can amend it all the way up to right before town meeting.
Yeah, well, somebody can. We can amend it till they get to them and then they can amend it. But
Right.
yeah, yes.
True.
Okay, so Ruth, would you like to make a motion?
Yes, I would like to motion that we accept the Indigenous Peoples' Day document as written.
I'll second that. Okay, so I'll call the roll. Ms. Yassine,
Yes,
Reverend Stewart,
Yes.
Ms. Dre,
Yes.
Ms. Swope,
Yes.
Ms. Risha,
Yes.
Ms. Gulata,
Yes.
and I am a yes. So, good work. We got there quickly. We just
yep. And then
we
we
set
will
up that
go
timeline a
forward.
month ago. So,
You know, Tom, we'll have to call another meeting, and then we'll start talking about getting people to think about allies, how we're going to promote this, how we're going to have those info kind of sessions. More of what could, you know, I don't want to do too much before it's kind of like there's one step and there's the next step. So kind of getting people together, allies ready, them signing on to support this document as we go to select board. But then after select board approval, that's when we would then do public forums, etc.
I
Right.
would. Yeah, I think that timing sounds correct.
Yeah.
Mhm. Keep in mind, it's summertime, guys. It's an early town meeting.
Yeah, but that's why we're
So,
really moving,
yeah.
Maura.
I'm sorry?
That's why we're really moving.
Yeah,
Exactly.
so we're going to have to, at some point, so it's June 21st. We're going to have to get in front of Maura, your and your select board colleagues. I don't think we necessarily need to nail that date down right now, but
But if there's something you can think about that you'd like to put us in for, why not?
oh, I would get it over to Lorraine and get on an agenda.
Okay.
Because the
right.
summertime agendas, so they can be ironically very long and late.
okay,
So I would get in the queue.
Okay.
all right.
If it's
All right.
helpful when the time comes, St. Luke's will happily host a informational session about it.
Great.
Fantastic. All right. Well, fantastic. I'm going to keep us moving. Connor Doherty, thank you for waiting patiently. If you're still, I know you're still out there. You see it, there he is. Okay. So Connor, I shared, and I think you saw that, the beach commission proposals. Do you want me to share my screen? We can go through this. Well, I'm still sharing. Yeah. Connor, you want to start talking it through a little bit, and then I'll pull up the document. Connor's on mute.
Can we unmute
There we
him? Do we
go.
need to do that?
Thanks so much. Yes, so we have a couple different proposals. We have a bunch of stuff that we're trying to push forward, but two of them specifically clearly touch on equity and inclusion. So we wanted to get feedback from this committee before we formally move forward with these things and try to get them in place. So the two things, first is the First Cliff Beach access, or whichever thing Tom shares
Of
first.
course, I pulled up the other one.
Okay, perfect. First is the MECO. So, you know, families who participate in the MECO program and come to Scituate are here and part of our community during the day, during school hours. And when, you know, they come to classmates' birthday parties or sports events or whatever, but, you know, the spaces in town, such as the beaches, where maybe they don't feel like they're part of our community actually, because you need a beach sticker to park there. And that means you need to be a resident, or you need to have shelled out, I think it was $300 this year as a non-resident to get a beach sticker. So someone brought this idea to us. It came via Karen Canfield, but someone gave it to her. I'm not sure where it originated. I love the idea. A lot of people think it's great. The idea is if you're part of the MECO program and you're at Scituate High School, you can buy a beach parking sticker at town resident pricing and at the unlimited town resident availability. I've spoken with some state legislators who also love this idea. They'd like to maybe expand it statewide if it's successful here in Scituate. I'm going to move where I am. Just give me 1 second. So I'm really hoping we can get it through. So we're looking to pass it, you know, this year as swiftly as we can, if everyone's kind of aligned on like, yeah, this looks good. This is something we should do. Hopefully you've all had a chance to kind of read through the slides. If not before now, just now while Tom's had them up. Does anyone have any questions for me on how this works or any feedback?
Ruth, go ahead.
Connor, I love this. I know we had brought this up at some point in time before in our meetings. I do not know if Karen Canfield got it from us or not, but still, it's an awesome idea. I really like it being at the town rate. And again, concerns about, too many people, then maybe we don't have as many non-town ones to sell. I don't think that the impact of not getting the money from the non-town ones is going to be, if we do impact how many non-town stickers we sell, I don't think that that's going to impact our revenue in any measurable manner whatsoever. And yet I think it does a lot to support Metco families. And I think that having them be able to come to the beaches in Scituate is a wonderful idea.
Do we have any statistics in terms of, I mean, I'm sure they're there, but how many resident beach stickers there are each year? How many non-resident beach stickers there are each year?
Sure. So for resident beach stickers, I don't have a tally for this current year. People are still buying them. But for non-resident, we do actually get $45,000 for the town for like lifeguard and for the beaches. We sell whatever that is at $300 a pop, and it sells out. I think this year it sold out in 7 minutes. Yeah, so clearly there's a disconnect between demand and supply. So I think we could, to that point, say, we're expecting maybe 15 people to get beach stickers. So next year, let's say 275 available, or I think maybe we had 200 actually for out of town beach stickers. So let's say instead it's 175 and they're $350 a pop or whatever it is. There's a way to, I think, weigh the financial equation so that it stays balanced while making sure the people who are already part of our community in a way can access the beaches.
But we don't limit in-town residential stickers.
No, we
So
don't.
if we're going to take them under that policy, which I think is the right thing to do, to me, it's a non-issue. Like it's right.
Yeah, and I mean, how many do you think? I mean, how many?
How many Metco families do we have? That's the question.
So there's 61 currently enrolled. This is according to Daryl, the director of the program. Last time we talked, he and I said that our best guess might be 15 families this first year. Of the 61 families enrolled, it seemed like 30 were kind of active participants interested in things. And of that, maybe 15 might participate in this. It's the kind of thing where we won't know until we try it. And given it's only 61, I mean, even if all 61 families participate, I don't think that's gonna break the parking infrastructure of Scituate.
No. We could have 61 new families just in our town alone, but
Exactly.
in 1 year.
Yep.
I love the idea. I particularly like the idea of sort of recognizing that Metco students are a part of our community and sort of, finally kind of recognizing that fully. I think though that there's going to be honestly just a significant backlash with something like this. And just by virtue of the fact that the beach stickers sell out in 5 minutes. I mean, they sell them online within 5 minutes. And it's a bit of it just from the sort of the town hall perspective. The beach stickers we hear it's a very contentious issue, and a lot of people who want the out of town beach stickers, they're people who, like for instance, they have nannies who they want to, the nannies that live out of the town and they want to be able to bring their kids to the beach. Or I'm hearing about like grandparents who, live in town and maybe live in one of the senior housing facilities, and they have adult children who live out of town who want to come in and bring them to the beach, but they can't because they don't have a car registered in this town. So I support it. I'm just envisioning that there's going to be a lot of backlash from these people who, they get up early on that day to try to get beach stickers, and then in 5 minutes they're sold out. And there's a lot of people who who basically just ended up doing without. So I have a feeling we're gonna hear from them, you know.
Yeah,
so
but
just-
again, we don't limit residential beach stickers, right?
But I think that those individuals would, there's a lot of town residents who would recognize that we're giving beach stickers to residents from outside the town who, you know, when they weren't able to get something.
Yeah, I don't think it
I'm
would
just, you
be,
know, playing devil's advocate, like, because we're gonna, you
Yeah.
know, that's gonna be
Absolutely.
a component of this, there's no doubt.
absolutely. And I don't think that, let's say 61 Metco families participate this year. I don't think that means 61 fewer out of towners, right? So like, we would only change the out of town number if the financials are some concern. I don't think it's a bright idea because I, like you, think it's already pretty bad for folks who are trying to get these stickers and they sell out in 7 minutes, especially if you're elderly and you're not super savvy with the computer because it's online only now. And that 7-minute window, I know my parents, they'd never get it. So I hear that, and I do think it's probably a voice that would be raised. So I think when we frame this, we'll sort of talk about how Metco students pay more to the town than it costs for the town to give them an education, right? So we're getting financially more from these individuals and families than we're kind of returning to them in a way. And I feel like this is a nice way to start to think about what else can we do to make these individuals feel fully a part of our community, not just students at our school Monday to Friday.
And if I can jump in, Tom, I would just add to what Connor said. I think we have to stop acting like, or we're behaving like there's a scarcity mentality and nothing, like we're not limiting town residents getting stickers. I read in the presentation you sent over from Connor, DPW is adding parking spots, since I know, Bob, you mentioned that was an issue before. So we're trying to, you know, alleviate that situation. And I would argue, I'd happily argue in favor of this with anyone saying, oh, well, my parents or nanny or whoever needs one. Well, they're not residents either. And these students and their families, I would argue, are more fabric of our community than my family who happens to be in Boston. And I do think these students will take advantage. I know, so I grew up in Boston, and my family on the weekends, maybe once or twice a summer, could afford to drive to Nantasket Beach and pay for parking. So if we're going to haul it from Boston to Hull, you know, those families would, if they live in Boston, would still come to Scituate. And so sign me up to argue with whoever wants to argue.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
like
like
I said,
that.
I mean, I support the idea. I'm just, you know, that's a reality that.
Oh, no, 100%.
With the, you know, with this process.
It's
Send
good.
them
We
my
can
email,
develop. No, we can develop the talking points now, Bob, because I agree with everything you're saying. That's what people are going to say,
Yeah.
and it's going to be maddening, frankly. But
Yeah, I mean, it's just, you know, we sort of regularly have sort of tense conversations at the time, the treasurer collector's office, because of people who are just, you know, denied stickers when they think, you know, whatever, they like to avail themselves to that. So yeah, something we'll have to address.
I don't know if it would be put forth at the same time as this, but another thing that the Beach Commission is looking into is what would be called a sunrise sticker. So someone could get a beach sticker to have access to our beaches from sunrise till 9 a.m. or something like that, maybe 10 a.m. at the most. And that's for, you know, people who want to surf cast and fish and go surfing, stuff like that. Those beach stickers sell out. But the reason we have to limit it is peak hours parking. So if you're someone who's only going to come surf before commuting into Boston, we should find a way to make the parking lots available to them as well. So we might actually be broadening that out of town base in creative ways that don't, you know, put our infrastructure to the breaking point.
I have to step out for 1 minute, guys. Sorry.
Wonder too, just in this vein, like I was hearing Bob, I know he just walked away, say like that sometimes it's like kids who want to come from out of town and bring their parents who live in senior housing to the beach. Like maybe we could just have some spots at some of the beaches where you can like pay for the day or something. So you don't have to have you know, you don't need it for the whole year. I mean, those people may come, you know, a handful of times throughout the summer months. They don't necessarily need to take an entire beach sticker for that. But if they had a mechanism that you could just pay for the day at some or all of them, you know, a few spots at each, maybe that would also help some of the out of town pressure. Just an idea.
I mean, Hammerock has that, but that's the only beach where you can pay out
I
of
think
pocket.
that's a great idea if you had a very limited number of just one day only, right? For the family member that wants to take their senior relative, maybe that alleviates the pressure that, you know, Bob was saying he hears about without really creating a significant parking concern.
Anyway, for this, you know, right now that we've been presented, I do love this. Is this something you want to vote from us, Connor, so that you can say the DEI committee voted to support this?
Ideally, yeah. If there's any feedback, any changes, something I've overlooked, that'd be great to know. I don't know if you don't have to vote tonight, but if we could get something that says the, you know, DEI committee is in support of this initiative, or, you know, something
What's
like.
what's your time frame? Are you targeting special town meeting?
I don't know. So we have to speak with our liaison first to sort of understand exactly what the process would be for putting this in place. If it's town meeting, if it's not, I have no idea. So we don't have a concrete time frame.
What can we vote to support this as it is? I mean, I think it's awesome, and how you tweak it about exactly how you promote it, offering Medco families beach stickers at resident rates. Sounds like a wonderful thing as a DEI way of addressing making our community feel more together. So,
Yeah, if
Jamil.
Jamil.
No, I just wonder, after hearing from folks about the potential for fallout from this proposal, and the goal of it being to, at the end of the day, it's about not, it's bigger than just equity with the beach pass. I think it's also about bringing people together, right? And so I wonder if it's possible to have a conversation with some folks, and that doesn't have to be I'm not saying it needs to be a big assembly, nothing like that, but maybe it's a smaller group of folks that get together that can talk about this, that may represent the different, not just the different perspectives, but the people who will have some plans, just to get an idea of what's being worked with here, so that because what we don't want to do, I don't think, is create something that ends up causing more harm than opportunity. You know, we don't want to cause animosity. I think that's not the goal of this. The goal of this is to, again, bring people together. So I don't know that if a vote needs to happen right now, especially learning that there's not a time limit on it, or if it's possible, again, to sit down and think about who are some people we like to get together to have a conversation about this, to see how we push it forward, or if we've exhausted all potential ideas that could work to serve the same purpose.
I'm trying to think of who without
Yeah,
getting into some nasty Facebook back and forth,
yeah. So a couple of
which
things.
we don't want.
I don't
Yeah.
think this has to go in front of town meeting. I may be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it doesn't. We only regulate the revolving fund and, you know, set a cap on it and things like that. I don't ever recall putting beach sticker prices, any of that. I think that all stays with the board. So I don't think you have to wait until annual town meeting, but we can double check on that. And with regards to access, it's not, you know, I think where people will push back, I don't think they're going to push back on the Metco thing, honestly. I really don't. I get it, the perspective about the out of towners, but at the end of the day, the reason why we limit it is because I don't know about you guys, but half the Sundays in the summer, I can't even get to the beach because we don't have enough parking. So our
Right.
infrastructure doesn't
Absolutely.
support opening it up to the world, right? We're just going to frustrate everybody. So think about that too, right? It's not that we're trying to be restrictive. It's that there's no place to park. So,
It's true. I mean, Peggotty is a decent sized parking lot. I'm sorry, that's it. I mean, Egypt's parking lot is decent, but it's not that big. Mine, it's got nothing.
Yeah,
I mean,
mine it has nothing. So that's the
Yeah.
challenge that we face.
So Maura, thank you for that. It was my understanding as well that this wouldn't require town meeting level approval.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to say that because, I'm not sure. Yeah, as far as accessing the beach, I mean, we're also trying to get bike racks at the beaches to try and encourage people, to think about
That's awesome.
biking down there more. When they see the bike rack, they go, oh yeah, I should take the bike next time or whatever. Because that does seem to be the number one concern is you're putting one more single car at my beach's parking lot. I'm never going to find a spot. But other than that, I haven't met much opposition to the idea. Any other thoughts about potential opposition we should be thinking about ahead of time, like Bob had, or any thoughts on something we should add?
I should say, I was pulled out actually by the town administrator on something, and so I mentioned we had this conversation, and he had one point, because one figure that we didn't have, he said that over 6,000 beach stickers were sold by the town for residents in the past year. You think it may be closer to 7,000. So ultimately, 15, particularly when you're talking about parking and things like that, 15 beach stickers is a drop in the bucket when you consider.
0.25% of the total. Yeah,
Right. So, yeah.
that's great. Thank you.
Yep.
Honor, one other thought is, I know you're talking about the bike racks, which would be awesome. I don't know, again, what this would cost, but is it the Scituate loop that goes around? I don't know if like peak times during the summer, if we would ever like have pickup in the harbor somewhere, and like, I don't know, is this like an out of left field
No,
idea? But
we're thinking
slope.
alike. I love it because I actually
Ooh,
brought this
thank
up to the I brought this up to the chair of the beach committee and said, hey, why don't we look into having the sloop have a slightly different summer route so that it can, maybe from North Scituate to the train station to Minot Beach and from Greenbush to Peggotty, where there's already parking lots in place. People can drive, bring their beach cooler or whatever, get on the sloop and have them drop them. So it's a thought we've had. It's not anything we'd be able to do in time for this season. So I think it's what we'll get busy working on in the fall for next year.
Well, I think it's an outstanding idea, and I think we've talked through some great additional suggestions if there's pushback or concerns about capacity or non-resident parking. So, if the group feels comfortable, I would make a motion to support this as is.
I'll second that.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. But I do want to just touch back to Jamil's point about, the goal for equity. You want people that are using these passes, MECO families, to feel like, they're welcomed. And it's not, any conflict with the residents that, school's out or it's the end of the year and now, they're seeing people on the beach that they don't usually see. And did they take my pass? And so we do want to include, everyone's involvement. And the other thing that Connor, you mentioned was the which I just learned at, through a MECO presentation that was given to the school committee, was the revenue that Scituate does get from these MECO students. I think that's important to share that information, that, we aren't, the town isn't paying back, if you will, money as much as they receive from the MECO students participating. The school does get revenue from that. So buying a beach sticker at resident rate, I think, is a nice thing to offer the MECO students. So I think it's a great idea, and I agree that we should vote to support it.
And it might be a slow burn. I mean, you said 15. There might only be 5 in the first year.
I couldn't agree more.
And then it might be 10, and then it might
Yeah.
be 20 based on the experience.
But
Right?
even so, if they're selling 7,000 beach stickers, even if all
Oh, I
6
know.
sign up, you're not really gonna notice. I mean, I just think it's
No,
It's
you're
such a
not.
small number, relatively speaking, to 7,000. It's such a small number of people.
Oh, I totally agree. I just want to make sure that the Metco
Yeah.
families that come down here have a positive experience,
And
Right.
folks who
because that's not
participate-
guaranteed.
folks who participate in the program as host families, have told me we've had, our Metco family that we host come on the weekend, park in our driveway, and then we shuttle back and forth to get to the beach. So in a way, it's like, a lot of these people are already here enjoying our beaches in the summer so that their kids can play with their school friends and whatever and hang out. So sure, well, could things look different? Could more people come who haven't before? Probably, but some folks are already doing it. We're just, making it easier for them so they don't have to make these crazy arrangements. Oh, and Angela, to your point about, making people feel included, making people feel like they belong. In many ways, I think this is an important first step toward potentially, hosting events or whatever it is, but we can't, say, come down here on this weekend, we're doing this cool thing. In the summertime, Scituate high school students, we're all going to be on this beach. There's going to be an event this day with a band and a food truck or whatever. If we don't have parking in place already for the families in Scituate High who are coming through Metco. So I'm hoping this is just the small first step toward a cultural shift in making folks feel like they do belong here, not just Monday to Friday during school hours.
No, I think it's a wonderful idea.
Okay, so we have a movement and a second.
Yes. All right, so I'll call the roll. Ms. Yassine,
Yes.
Reverend Stewart,
Yes.
Ms. Dre,
Yes.
Ms. Swope,
Yes.
Ms. Risha,
Yes.
and I am a yes. Okay. Good stuff.
Next.
And I know we're going over people, but we're covering some great stuff. So I'm going to stop the share and then I'm going to go to your next piece, Connor.
Thanks. I'll just start chatting away. First Cliff Beach access. We've found a plot of land that the town owns. It is 75 feet wide and accesses First Cliff Beach, or the beach between First Cliff and Second Cliff. There is a public access point already. It's very small. If you go to that second slide, Tom, it's a helpful visual, I think. Or yeah, third slide, perfect. So where the blue highlighted area is, there's little stairs down. The yellow highlighted area is public land that no one really knows about, because at the edge of the fence in the lot to the right of it, there's a sign that says private. So it really looks like the whole area is private, and it isn't. And you can access the beach there without having to go through stairs. It's sort of flat. So from a purely physical accessibility standpoint, to me, that felt like it touches on DEI, equity and inclusion. So we're just looking to talk with conservation and say, can we rip up some plants here to make a little footpath to see if there's actually public interest in using this beach, and just sort of start there. And if there seems to be, then great. We have an opportunity here for folks who have mobility issues to have a very simple, easy beach access point. We could even look into putting in, one of those Moby mats for wheelchair access in time. But right now, we just want to start with a footpath. And I thought, since it touches on ability, I'd love to get the input of this committee.
No brainer. Ruth.
Where will people park?
So if you look at that satellite view that's up now, directly across the street, it's full of boats in this picture, but in the summer it's empty. That's the, marina parking lot. So boat owners park there. Sometimes people rent out the little pavilion for private events or parties. So that is.
Well, is it allowed beach parking? Because again, if I went there, I'd need to put my car somewhere, and nobody's going to want it in front of their house. And I don't know where else I would put my car. Is it allowed to be in that space?
It is a public lot. Correct,
Okay.
Maura, that is a town-owned parking lot. I mean, that's my understanding, is that
That might need to be addressed as, a beach parking for summer.
That's the
Right.
Maritime Center, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
it definitely would have to be socialized to make sure that there's capacity,
Right.
part of the whole proposal, I would imagine.
Because
Because
the
it's
fact
not a
that there
big, it's
is a
not a
parking
big
lot
lot.
there is awesome,
Yeah.
but that would need to be fleshed out.
Do we know too, Connor, I think what we'll have to look at too is, do we know how far those private homes own? Is it like mean low tide?
I have a great visual that I found in my research that shows, I didn't add it to this, I should have. It shows two of the houses here, not the one immediately on the left, but the two after that, they own like outweigh, claiming rights from the 17 somethings into the water. But the rest of the property to the right, for at least two houses, and the immediate on the left are a high tide and up private beach. So, the low tide beach is public.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
I think I'd like to know more about this before voting on it. Again, I think that other people need to be able to weigh in, including the abutters. Because I think that this has more potential for impacting the local people in ways that we may not know at this time.
Sure. So just so you know, the plan is, first, I'm waiting for conservation to say if we can even do it. They might say, nope, you can't touch those plants, they're endangered. It's a mass environmental thing or whatever. So once I know from conservation whether we can even put in a path, then the next step will be to talk to all the residents of that road, not just the immediate abutters. I want to talk to everyone on that strip and say, hey, you use the beach. Do you want a little footpath cut through right here? You don't have to go up and down the stairs, blah, 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 and get any concerns from them. I don't imagine this to be a destination beach. I really think it's probably just going to be for that community. When there is an event at that Maritime Center, the Scituate Boat Works area, that lot is full. Peggotty's already got Moby mats. Peggotty's got a big parking beach, and it's right there. I think this is more just about an opportunity that exists, and why wouldn't we take advantage of it if we can? I don't think it's going to serve a massive population by any means. I think it's really just going to be for this localized area.
So Connor, is the current access point, the one in blue? So there's a way for someone to access the beach currently, right? Just from that?
Correct. And then if you want to go out on the beach past where that blue is, you're trespassing technically, because those next two properties own via really old deeded rights. They own into underneath the water. Now, the local folks do walk along that beach, and I think it's fine with the current owners. I can envision in the future someone else owns the house and they are sticklers and whatever. But currently that is the access point, and it's stairs only.
Yeah, Bob, it's not a flat access. It's actually a metal staircase that goes up onto the seawall, and then you're kind of on your own after that. It's not particularly.
It's not great.
Safe. Yeah, it's not great.
Okay.
So if you want to wait to vote on this and weigh in until after conservation has and after residents have, that's fine. I just wanted to put this before at the same time.
I'm more comfortable with that.
Yeah, let's do that.
Sure.
Meanwhile, it looks like it's a very
updated.
interesting idea, and I am glad people are thinking of ways to do this. It just seems to need a few more details before we would weigh in.
I have a quick question for you. We are looking at signage when it comes to equity inclusion. We're aware that there are, residents in Scituate for whom English is not their first spoken language. And we were thinking about beach signage, trying to update it in some way, maybe starting with a temporary QR code sticker that can direct you to a place where you can hear the sign in Portuguese or Spanish or whatever. And then in time, hopefully creating some more permanent signage. I didn't want to start work on that route if there's work already being done there. So is that something this committee is looking at all?
No.
Not at the moment.
Okay. All right. So if we decide to take that on before the end of this summer, you'll be hearing from me again.
Sounds good. Awesome.
Thanks so much.
Connor, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Take care.
All right. I'm going to stop my share. Okay, good stuff. Celia, and I know that I wanted to get to this earlier, but I'm going to turn the floor over to Celia to discuss. We've kicked around some emails and shared some documents and so forth with some other towns are doing around town meeting.
Thanks, Tom. Sorry, my internet is a little slow if I go offline. So yes, so thank you first of all to resident, I think it's Brenna Mahoney who commented, was watching one of our last meetings when we were talking about
That's
town
right.
meeting and the possibility of having virtual participation, and said that Cohasset just passed something at their May 2nd annual meeting. So looked into some of those articles and the warrant for their town meeting, and found out that they basically passed something that allowed not just virtual viewing and participation, but also voting during their annual meeting. So they had discussed, like we did at the last one, is a Saturday better than a weeknight, etc. And then they ended up allowing virtual participation and voting. So in Cohasset, it was Meg Wheeler and select board member, I'm going to butcher the name, Jean Healy Dippold. And they also, the select board member put forth a home rule petition to basically request from the state an exemption to have that be possible. The other thing, just doing a little research, is that a number of towns are piloting this while the home rule petitions are in process. And just wanted to open it up there. I still have to pull together some research for all of us to review, but that's the overview, that it is possible, and a neighboring town has done it of a similar size, and other towns in Massachusetts. And the whole point here is just expanding access to who gets to vote in town meeting. So it's not just folks who can get there and also stay late. Unrelated to the virtual access, though, something that Maura touched on that I noticed in the warrant for the Cohasset town meeting was at the end of the warrant booklet, there was an advertisement for babysitting or childcare on site for folks. So it was out there. And I know Maura had said in the past, we would offer these types of accommodations and really communicate them. So that's just something we should do regardless, as one step, but hopefully we can go the full way with virtual participation as well. And I think we also have to look into what we need in terms of technology to make that possible, and what that investment is in case we have to put that, in case it has an impact on the budget. So that's deeper research.
So safe to say, just kind of getting started with this one, we know that this will take a lot of research. We're gonna have to talk to a lot of people. Like you said, the technology, it might be there, it might not be all the way there. How much is that going to cost? Changing, it's a big change for Scituate to even embrace something like this. There's gonna be a lot of people that are going to say, this is the way that we've always done it. We want to keep doing it that way. But it clearly shuts a lot of people out.
Yeah. And one of the arguments I had read that came up during the Cohasset meeting was, I think, voter authentication, or I can't talk right now, I need coffee. But, essentially, like I live in precinct 5 and I'm Celia and all of these things. But, if we recall, when everything was virtual, like we all interviewed for this committee virtually and had to attest we were town residents and state our address online, etc. And so I do think there are ways to verify. Sorry, Maura, I cut you off.
Celia, also, different town charters have, our town charters are different town by town. And I think we have to incorporate our charter review committee too with this, because they've done a lot of research as well with the process. So it would make sense to connect with them as well. And I think Karen Canfield is almost prepared to bring a lot of the changes that they're proposing forward. So good timing.
Maura, will you let us know more about that? Because I'm very interested in that. I don't want to miss that.
Absolutely.
Thank you. So I don't know. I mean, I don't get anything from them, and I haven't signed up for anything from them, but I'd really like to know when they start publishing things.
Yeah, let me look on the website. It might actually be there. So while you guys continue, I'll go look.
Celia, I love it. I think it's a great idea and it's long overdue. I mean, I no longer fit into many groups, but I am of the group that I'd really have a very hard time sitting there for 3 hours and on. It's just so painful physically and mentally. That I would
Or
love
4
to-
hours.
Yeah, or more, exactly. I would love to have other options. And I think there's a lot of people who, though not homebound, have a very hard time traveling, parking, walking in at night to do all this. And that doesn't mean they don't want to be participatory within their town's government and don't appreciate the fact that we have such a participatory form of government, which I'd never heard of before I moved to the Northeast. It didn't exist where I came from in the West. So it was pretty amazing. And to hear the quality of information discussed at a town meeting was just fantastic. But I think to make it more easy for people to do that, even from their homes, would be fantastic, really a boon for so many people.
It is a pretty amazing process, right? And to see how educated a lot of the residents are about various issues, it's really something. But it doesn't mean it can't be better.
And one of the things I think more Tom or someone raised at the last meeting too was the role of the moderator. And I think that's something, as we look at the entire process of running town meeting, we'll have to talk to that individual or consider their role, especially, I mean, I know from my day job, running hybrid meetings is a nightmare. And so we're really, in order to do it well and not, upset people and make sure everybody's heard, we'll have to work with that individual, and perhaps they might need somebody online on like the Zoom while they're in person. Like we'll have to think it through to do it really well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to ask Seth to unmute, but the school committee meetings, he's essentially the moderator. He's the one during public comment, which can be lengthy on those meetings. They fought back and forth between in-person comment and then people Zoom in. And yeah, I mean, you have to have somebody that's ready to go. So, okay, so plenty more to come on that. Celia, I know I want to be involved in this. Do you have a little team?
I don't, but I'll take volunteers.
Who else wants to jump in with Celia and myself?
And guys, the charter review, is there a chat window in here? I'm trying to find
No,
the chat.
it's disabled.
Oh, okay. I'll send it to you then. It is the charter review red line version is on the town website, Ruth.
Okay, thank you.
I was going to copy and paste the link for you all, but
Elena dropped off, so she's automatically on the team.
Perfect. She expressed interest anyway, so we'll tell her.
That's just how that works
Yeah.
in my company. So that's how we're doing it here too. So all right, good. Okay. I try to keep these to an hour. I didn't tonight, but great conversation. Does anyone have any other business that they would like to bring forward? Okay. And we have our future meeting dates.
Right, so July
right?
19th is the next meeting date, which is correct. August 16th, September 13th, and October 11th. That's what was a change.
Okay.
Okay, I think it says the 14th, but that was like a Friday or something. So you would have known that wasn't right.
I would have gotten there eventually, yeah.
And then November 15th was the correct date, but it also is not a second Tuesday, so it now has an asterisk. And December 13th, and they are all posted on the agenda
Awesome.
on our town website.
I'm not going to be here for the July 19th meeting. I will be in Maine. But I did want to say, since we're not going to, I won't be here in July. So the first weekend in August is Heritage Days. And I just wanted to say that for the first time, one of the bands that will be performing on the big stage will be a Cape Verdean band on Sunday.
Awesome.
Everyone should come out and listen to them. They're great. He actually performed with a couple of individuals couple of musicians last year at the bandstand. But he's coming back with the bigger band and a woman by the name of Raza, who's really good. She's actually from Praia. So hopefully-
Last year's performance was spectacular.
Yeah.
Loved it. So don't want to miss that.
Heritage Days should be fun.
Fantastic. That's great.
I also won't be able to be here on the 19th.
Okay. Okay. All right. Okay, so if there's nothing else, I will call the meeting to a close. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, and I'll call the roll. Ms. Yusi,
Yes.
Ms. Dre,
Yes.
Ms. Swope,
Yes.
Reverend Stewart,
Yes.
Ms. Risha,
Yes.
and I am a yes. Thank you all so much. Appreciate it. Great meeting.